Hello, everyone. How we doing? Give me some thumbs up if you can hear me. Just doing a sound check, starting off right, and some thumbs up would be awesome for sound. Let's see who we got here. Hey, right on. We've got Cragen, Colin, Gary, Jesse. Hey, Jesse, welcome. Lauren, Dwayne, Daryl, and Amy, Shmoo, Kai. Tony, Bryce, Shelly, welcome. Krista, hey everyone. Awesome. So we got folks from Victoria, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Souk, Okotoks. Yeah, represent. Jesse. Mission. Hey, back at it, Colin. Cragen from Utah, right on. Hey, Sam, Campbell River. Shannon from Wakefield, Quebec. And we've got Vancouver, Princeton. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. And I see some thumbs come up. So I'm going to go ahead. We got sound. Yay, sound. Awesome. So hello. Welcome to our Coastal Backpacking 2025 planning session. I'm Mike Blake at MB Guiding, your Vancouver Island hiking guide. All right, so this is going to be a super fun session. We're going to be doing a few different trip plans here. So Coastal Backpacking 2025, we're going to go look at a bunch of different routes. And we're streaming on Facebook Live from the Sands Peninsula on Vancouver Island, beautiful British Columbia. So say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and we'll get started right away. Yeah, Okotoks. Hey, Renee from Ottawa, welcome. Joan from Ladysmith. Hey, Paul from Chilliwack is back. Awesome. Right on. Well, we got a bunch of regulars here. We got some new folks. So yeah, say hello. Tell us where you're chiming in from. And I'm just going to get going here. So we want to show you how to plan coastal backpacking trips like a pro. So I want you to participate too. Ask lots of questions. You can ask your questions in the comments. Participation in the Q&A is going to be a part of entering the giveaway. So yeah, we're going to do another giveaway. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. Right on. Yeah. So any folks that are watching the replay, if you don't watch the live stream, I'll follow up for any questions in there as well. So feel free to add them even after the live stream concludes, and you'll still get entered into the giveaway. So we're going to give away 3 awesome prize packages today. And because it's a combo of different trips, we're going to do a combo of prizes. So we've got the Blisters and Bliss will be an option for the prize winners. We'll give away 3. And you get a choice of a Blisters and Bliss or a brand new Nooka Island topographic map. So just giving you a little bit of the theme ahead. So you got a choice of either one or the other for the prize win. And of course, we're going to jump in with a bunch of these stickers from Valerie and the West Coast Trail slug patches from Valerie and Jesse. So that's going to be fun. We'll add those in there. And then as a special bonus, I'm going to add my one-to-one personalized coaching sessions for the winners to help you plan a trip. So these are just like the coaching sessions that our guided trip participants get. And we've been doing quite a few of those this season. Some winners of all our live streams up to here have been really getting a lot out of it. So yeah, you want to win that. It's a good prize. It's a half-hour at least consultation with me. So if you're keen to win one of the prize packages, hang out with us and be sure to participate in the chats. Let's see who we got here. Hey, Mary Lee. Hey, from Victoria. Awesome. So yeah, we've got a few of our folks that are joining us on trips this year. So welcome, folks. Some of you I was just chatting with consulting earlier today. So it's great to see you here at the live stream. You'll get a little taste of some of the other trips that we do. Yeah, so this is going to be a fun coastal backpacking. I've got a little bit of a schedule of things I want to talk about. So I want to talk about the BC Parks closure, so Wandafuka Trail, the partial closure on the North Coast Trail, and then the Nootka Trail, some new news there, which is really exciting. And then if people are keen and you haven't got tired of me talking about the West Coast Trail, we can do some questions for the West Coast Trail as well. Hey, Chantel from Saskatoon, welcome. Awesome. So we got about 35 people on here right now. So if you know anybody else that might be interested, you could just share out the link. We're on Facebook Live. You can share the link right from where you're viewing it here. So I'm just going to do a quick intro for those that are new, and then we'll get to some coastal backpacking planning. So I'm Mike Blake, an Association of Canadians mountain guide. I've been living and working on Vancouver Island, for a while now. I moved here in 1995, and I've been guiding for probably about 20 years since I've been here. Let's just get my screen share up here. Yeah, so this is our website, mbguiding.ca. You can go check that out. The main site is a blog, so we post trail guides on here to help you plan trips, as well as trip reports. So you'll see on our homepage, we've got the most popular ones up here right now, so the West Coast Trail, the North Coast Trail, and then some of the less popular ones down below, and some of the alpine hiking that we do in Strathcona Park. So that's all on there. And you may know me through this, or if you join a guided trip. But yeah, I've been doing this for a bit, and I love sharing content out with you. And so we do the blog here. We also do guided trips, and we also do some workshops. But if you're curious to learn more about me and us, and because there's more to the story than just me, go to our about page. So mbguiding.ca/about, and you'll see just a little bit about me there, and about some of my certifications and what I'm interested in. So I'm Association of Canadian Mountain Guides hiking guide, as well as Commercial Bear Viewing Association of BC Level 1 guide, an Interpretive Guides Association interpretive specialist, and now an instructor for them for teaching risk management. And then, of course, we got a shout out to Slipstream, which is our wilderness first aid provider, which I was just talking with Doc earlier today on another one of my calls. So all sorts of folks that make this happen, but probably the most important person is Lara Campbell, and she's our part of the MB Guiding that does all the writing. So when you're reading on here, all the blogs, that's a lot of Lara there. So I collect the data and the content from all the trips. I write out chicken scratch notes, and then she makes it real pretty. So thank you, Lara, for helping us with all that. And these blogs, we've had them going for probably getting on 10 years now, and they're super popular. We keep them super simple. There's no advertising. There's no affiliate marketing. It's just for you to learn how to plan trips. And then if you're keen, you can join us on a guided trip here, like some of our very first clients on the West Coast Trail, Rita and Andre. So that brings me back to another part of what makes this all happen, which is really important. Hey, Lara, there she is. She's up in the chat upstairs. So say hey to Lara. So yeah, our alumni, we've got a bunch of people that come back year after year. They want to experience new trips, new adventures with us. So we're super happy about that. And I think on this season, we're pushing, folks are coming on their 5th, 6th trips with us. So that's pretty amazing. And then we've also got our family partners, which includes all different types of organizations. So transportation companies that take us to all the locations that we go to. We work with all the different land managers that get us our permits, the guiding associations, different publishing companies that we work with, different apps that we work with. They're all listed here on our About page. So if you just want to go check that out, and you can see what helps support MB Guiding and what makes it happen. Because if it wasn't for all of these services, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So just lots of shout outs there for all those folks. I always like to take some time at the beginning of every live stream to make sure that folks know how this all works. It's not just me, and it's not just the website. There's a whole network of people that we work with. So let's get moving on here, though. So I'm going to go into some super fun stuff now. I'll be going back and forth between my screen share and the big screen here, and then I'm going to keep my eye on the chat to see what kind of questions come up. And remember, asking questions is part of the chat or as part of the giveaway. So ask your questions, ask away. Okay, so coastal backpacking planning session. Let's go. 2025 has been a very interesting year. So you may have heard of lots of closures. And let's start off the top here with the Juan de Fuca, because that's the most closed out of all of them. So we're going to head over to the BC Parks website here. So yeah, I'm going to go through the coastal trails that are in BC Parks that are closed or partially closed right now. So if you go to the BC Parks Juan de Fuca website here and you scroll down, right off the bat, you can click on the advisories here. Check the advisories and you'll see advisory number 2, which is the one with the red caution, which is the most important one. The Juan de Fuca Marine Trail is closed for the summer of 2025. So the entire trail is closed for through hiking. The trail is unsafe and impassable with damaged bridges, unstable slopes, washouts, fallen trees, and blocked sections. So a lot of work to do on the Juan de Fuca, and BC Parks, in collaboration with the park facility operators and the different construction companies that they work with, do not anticipate it opening in 2025. So right off the top, the Juan de Fuca is out for through hiking this year. So if you want to plan a trip on the Juan de Fuca, there's some other options. You can go check out Isiambro, Mystic Beach, or China Beach as of May the 15th. If you click on this little map here, it shows you what's open and what's closed. So this is on the Juan de Fuca website. So by BC Parks, there's a great map here that shows you exactly what sections are closed and which sections are open. So you want to go check that out. And yeah, have a good look there. You can see there's not a lot open here. We've got the green for coming off the China Beach trailhead there. And then it goes as far as Mystic Beach, and then it's all red all the way through to Sombrio East, which is where it's green again. So you can access Sombrio East from the Sombrio parking lot. So you could do a short little day hike and set up on camp up here. So you can still camp in the park at these locations. So Mystic, Sombrio East, and that's it. You can visit Botanical, but you can't camp there. So there's no camping at Botanical. Yeah, not a lot going on the Juan de Fuca as far as options. So let's just get to the next thing, which I'm more interested in because I didn't get to do any training hikes on the Juan de Fuca this year. And I see our first question is coming up here, which is a perfect segue. So Lauren's asking which sections of the NCT are closed. So let's go take a look at the NCT. I have a trip planned out here, guided trip in 2 weeks. The last I had heard was on June 1st. Everything was supposed to be open, but there's been some changes and updates since. So again, go to the BC Parks website for the Cape Scott Park. This is where you're going to get the most up-to-date information. Go check the advisories and go look here at the red exclamation mark. This has been changed as of a couple of days ago. Previously, as of May 8th, it said it was completely closed from Nissan Bight to Shishardi Bay. But now there's been some changes. There's been work crews in there, and they've cleared all the way from Nissan Bight all the way up to Cape Suttle, including the Cape Suttle campground is clear. So you can do almost half of the trail right now. So you can't through hike it from end to end, but there's multiple ways you can do it. You could get dropped off at Cape Suttle and hike out to the Cape Scott trailhead. You could do what we like to do, get dropped off at Cape Suttle and hike out at Fisherman on the boat again. Or you can yo-yo it from the Cape Scott trailhead. So park at the Cape Scott trailhead and then yo-yo into Cape Suttle and back. And that'd be a full trip right there. So yeah, this change is something I'm watching really carefully. Things are in motion. Apparently the work crews are on the next section of trail from Cape Suttle all the way up to Shishardi. We don't know exactly when they're going to be done. So we're just watching for updates here. This posting where it says May 8th, that's the original closure message. So it has been updated more recently, this closure. I think it was the 23rd is when it got updated last. So yeah, that hopefully answers your question there, Lauren. That is what's closed, and we're waiting news on whether or when the section from Cape Suttle to Shishardi Bay is going to open. Sooner than later, hopefully, because our first trip is June 15th, and then our next one is July 15th. So we're hoping it all opens up before then. Okay, let's see what other questions we have going on here, because they're starting to come in. Oh, my screenshots are blurry. Oh, okay. I'm not sure how I can fix that. Maybe if you want to try to look at it on a different screen of your end, and if other people saying my screenshots are very blurry, then we can see what we can tech out there. So thanks, Gary, for the update. You might want to look at on another device or on a different internet. I've got 1080p 30 going out here, so hopefully you can capture that on your end. But thanks for that. Hey, you're welcome, Lauren. Okay, so let's go back here to see some what kind of questions are coming up. Becky's asking about the Nooka Trail, so let's go there next. So I'm just gonna go through all these different trails as we go. I just got some notifications that the screen is not blurry on other viewers' screens. So yeah, you might, Gary, recommendation is to check your internet connection or change your screen to a different monitor. Maybe go to a bigger screen. Okay, let's go back up here. I'm going to favorite some of these because there's a bunch of questions coming in. Let's go switch here now to this screen. So I'm going to go take you over to Nooka. So Nooka does not have a dedicated website for it. It's managed by Recreational Sites and Trails BC. And the best place to get information on Nooka is to go to our website, scroll down to the Nooka Trail, Nooka Island section here, and then scroll down and you'll see a whole bunch of info on Nootka. So highlights, overview, the maps that we use, the guidebooks, fees access, the different types of shuttle systems. So flying or taking ferries or boats, accommodations, how we find the weather out there. So different links for weather, tides, route, campsites, and a bunch of trip reports. I think the latest one is from last June. So yeah, we've added trip reports. Not all of our trip reports get added, but we add as trip reports as we go on to this as well. So this is a great resource for learning about Nooka because there is no dedicated parks page for it. What I did find is the Recreational Sites and Trails BC interactive map here. So this is Nooka, and if you zoom in on it, you'll see this green band. This is the recreational site and trail that's being managed by Recreational Sites and Trails BC in collaboration with the Mawachat First Nation. And this is pretty much the corridor when you hike the trail. So this is the northwest end of the island. Starfish Lagoon, where you may fly into, or if you're taking Shorebird, you may come in on Louis Lagoon here. And then you're hiking the trail through this corridor. If you zoom in here, it's called the Outer Coast Nooka Island Recreation Area. And on my authorization from Recreational Sites and Trails BC to guide it, that's exactly what it says on there. But if you Google that, you're not going to find much because there isn't a lot on it. There's no website dedicated to it. So there's not a lot of info except from what you hear from people that have hiked the trail. And I think that's the best way to get info on Nooka is to talk to people that have hiked it recently. So the question here for Nooka, I'm just got to scroll back here. Got so many questions now. We got, here we go. From Becky. Becky asks, do you know how the Nooka Trail is looking after the winter storm? I'm heading out there on Tuesday. So what I've heard from talking to different folks that have been hiking out there, that there's not too much deadfall, windfall. It's actually pretty good. So yeah, your mileage may vary. Be prepared to crawl over blogs because yeah, they can fall down any time of the year in the spring storms that we're getting right now up on the North Island. So yeah, I haven't got any updated reports recently, but we're going to be heading out there at the end of June. So if you haven't heard anything by that time, make sure you give me a shout and I'll give you my trip report. And better yet, why don't you report back, Becky, on what you find out to us? That'd be awesome. Okay, so Nooka, while we're on the topic, I have a connection, the liaison I work with for my authorization there at Recreational Sites and Trails BC. And I had a meeting with him a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago now. And he had given me some excellent news that on Nooka, just last fall, 3 new urine diverting toilets have been put in. So these are the really nice Toilet Tech Solutions toilets that you see in BC parks. And there's one at Third Beach, right here. There's one at Calvin Falls, right here. And there is one at Beano Creek. So there's 3 installed now. And it wasn't easy to get them in there, but it's going to make a huge difference because there's been a big surge in traffic to Nooka, definitely since I've been guiding it, and for sure since 2020. So it's really nice that they've now made the effort, Recreational Sites and Trails BC, to get in some proper human waste management systems. So this is big news. This is something we've been waiting for a long time on Nooka. And just to reiterate, there's 3 new urine diverting toilets from Toilet Tech Solutions, the same ones in BC parks. One's at Third Beach, one's at Calvin Falls, and one's at Beano Creek. And apparently there's more going in, but it probably won't be soon. So probably in the next season or the next one after that. Hey, right on. Thanks, Becky. Becky's gonna update some conditions. That's awesome. Yeah, well, we're talking about Nooka, so I'm just gonna go with the flow here from the conversation, and I'm gonna go with this next question here about Nooka. Bryce is asking any tips for hanging food on the Nooka Trail, and can you confirm which spots have outhouses? So we did the confirmation on the outhouses. Hanging food on the trail, I prefer using an Ursack on the Nooka Trail. Keeps out mice, rodents, bears, wolves, everything. So that's my way to do it on the Nooka Trail. I much prefer that than hanging. But if you're going to hang food, the best way to do it is to practice ahead of time. Make sure you have a good line and you know how not to snag it. Because one of the big problems on Nooka, besides the human waste the last many years, is the snagging of food cords all up and down the trees at all the camps. And you'll notice when you go to Nooka, it looks like a Christmas tree with all the tinsel left on it at some of these campsites, because folks have snagged these cords up there because they haven't practiced their food hangs and they're maybe used to using the food caches in BC parks. And there's no food caches on Nooka. You got to do it yourself. So highly recommend practicing ahead of time or using a Ursack. Lauren's saying here Ursack work great for him. Yeah, for sure. It's a great way. Yeah, to answer Amy's question that just came in, there is no food caches on the Nooka Trail. You have to do it yourself. So you got to bring your own line in a bag, or preferably what I like using a Ursack. That's what I like to use. It's going to do a little tea break and see some more questions coming in here. Okay, just scroll up here. Yeah, Paul saw some snagging out there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty common on Nooka because there's no food caches. Bryce, I would check out online. There's a couple of really good videos on hanging, so I would check those videos out and see the results of folks that haven't done it very well. Yeah, so Colin's in here doing some Q&A for us, and yeah, on NCT, we're just getting back up there now. We're gonna switch gears and we're gonna head back over here. Okay, so let's go see here. I know when I'm doing these streams, folks are super excited to get into the Q&A before I can get a chance, so that's fun. I'm gonna still follow up here. So Carlotta Ruths is planning to do the NCT this summer. And is it correct that there are no food caches at most camps? Will we need to hang our food in the trees in most places? Any advice on that? So yeah, it's a BC park. Here's the website here, and there's food caches at every of the official campsites. And if you go to our website, Carlotta, and you go up here to the North Coast Trail section, and you scroll down to campsites. We described that there. So all designated sites have food lockers and outhouses. So that's all the official BC Park sites. Now, if you're in between the official sites, so the ones that don't have food caches and outhouses, then you're going to need to hang your own food. So I still bring a line on the NCT just in case we end up between camps for any reason. We've had once or twice on our trips over the years where we just didn't get as far as we hoped that day, and we ended up doing camp in between the official campsites. And it was great to have that extra line just so that we can hang our food properly out of the way. And I didn't bring an Ursack on that trail because we are using the food caches. Yeah, so check out our site there, North Coast Trail Guide. Scroll down and you'll see all sorts of little details and kilometer markers for each of the campsites. And then if you go down to our trail reports or trip reports here for the North Coast Trail, scroll down there, you'll see all sorts of photos and chitter chatter about each of the sites, and there's lots of good info in there too. And then, of course, check out the Cape Scott Park site here as well. Okay, let's go back and see what we got going on here. So yeah, give me a thumbs up if this is all coming through clear and if you like the format. So I'm just going to keep going like this, Q&A, and I'm going to skip around between the few different parks and recreational sites. Hey, you're welcome, Carlotta. Yeah, so I'm just going to keep skipping around. If you're keen to, I can show you some of the apps I'm using for planning right now. So I've got a few different apps on my mobile device I can show you. And then we can also look, if you're keen, at gear. I've got my gear list up here. So you can see my gear list I'm packing for my trip next week. I'm just going to look at the comments here. Amy, what do I do to prepare? I've had this question quite often, and the best preparation for hiking and backpacking and camping is to go hiking, backpacking, camping. I'm not a trainer. I don't work out in the gym. I like doing sports like mountain biking and hiking and backpacking and some of the water sports too, some boating stuff like kayaking or canoeing if I had a chance. But I find the best way to prepare for exercise is to go on shorter hikes and build yourself up over time. Especially if you're looking to conquer something like the West Coast Trail, it would make sense to go do several shorter hikes where you're staying outside overnight, and that way you have a chance to practice with your tent and your backpack and packing your gear, unpacking your gear, setting up your gear, taking it apart, making your meals, practicing with all that stuff. And the best thing is you're going to get exercise and training while you do that. So that's always my first tip. Oh, great question, Lauren. Yeah, so that just to finish off, Amy, that's always my first tip. Get out there on the trails, do shorter hikes, build yourself up, get some longer hikes in. At a minimum, you want to do some camping from a car at least so you can test your gear. You don't want to go out on a trip like, say, the West Coast Trail and it be pouring rain your first night and you haven't set up your gear and know how to set up gear in the rain because that's going to be no fun. There's definitely an art to setting up and taking down camp in the rain. Okay, so we've got Lauren asking, let's about my gear list. So I can share this out later in the comments. My gear list. It's on Lighter Pack. And so right now, this is my 7-day list. It's for the West Coast Trail next week. And it's fully loaded with all my group safety equipment, which is about 4 pounds. This is including a liter of water, which is 2.2 pounds. My fuel is pushing a pound for the 7 days. So that gives me a bit extra. My food is up at 9 pounds. So that's pretty hard eating. That's lots of good food. And you'll see my sleep system's at around 3 pounds. Shelter's just nice, just over a pound and a half. My backpack is around 3 with all the little packing pods in there. Kitchen, just over a pound. Hygiene, just over a pound. The biggest is the clothing. That's pushing up 8 pounds, and that's with all my comfort wear for a trip on the West Coast Trail for 7 days. So that's all my layers and all my camp stuff, sun gear, rain gear, that's all included in there. Electronics takes up a bit. So I bring some electronics. I've got my safety electronics for communication and planning. Then I also have my fun electronics for doing videos and filming. So things like the satellite communicator would be in there, power banks to charge everything, redundancy in systems too, because I'm guiding. I have a headlamp and a backup headlamp. Couple of fun items like headphones that wouldn't be for guiding, but I like to have my headphones if I'm listening to anything, content, if I'm around tent, weather logger, all that stuff adds up to another 3 pounds. So it's one of my bigger chunks there. But the nice thing about Lighter Pack is when you go around your wheel here and you categorize everything, you can see what stuff is taking up the most amount of your weight. So we've got clothing, food. Those are the two biggest things for the 7-day trip. If you scroll down my list, you'll see all the items have a hyperlink at the beginning of them. So right here, you'll see a hyperlink. If you click that, it'll take you to the manufacturer's website and it'll show you the exact item that I have. Things like bear spray, some luxury items like my ultralight chair, some things that I may not use for myself, but maybe somebody else comes on a guided trip and they didn't bring insect repellent, so I'll have a couple of wipes. I have extras. It's a guided list. It says at the top it's for guiding. So when I do recreational trips, I'm going to take a lot of this stuff out. But if you scroll all the way down, you'll see my shelter, sleep system, my menu plan. If you click on that, look over here, you'll see quantity. So that's for a 7-day trip. If you click on it, I'll get a notification and then I can give you access to that. I just don't have it accessible where you can just click on it because I'm changing it out a lot. So yeah, there's water in there too, that 1 liter I mentioned, which is super heavy. And then the group safety gear. So first aid kit, which is quite heavy. So that's almost 2 pounds right there. And then repair kit and then tarp and tarp rigging. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff for guiding, less for recreational. Oh, right on, Quinn. Always good to hear that the sessions are helping. That's why we do them. Amy's saying tent inside or outside. Definitely on the inside for me. I prefer not to have any stuff hanging off the outside, especially if we're in, like, say, let's use Nook as an example, where it's quite tight in places. So it's bushy and you're crawling through the forest. It's really easy to snag a tent or a sleeping pad or anything hanging off on the outside. So I prefer to keep all of my gear inside. The only time I keep my tent on the outside is if it was really wet from morning dew or from rain, and I want to dry it during the day. I'll keep it in my outside pocket so it can drip dry as I walk. And then when I get to a break spot, maybe I can take it out of the pack easily because it's on the outside and lay it out to dry it out. So great question there. Keep it in the inside as best as possible. Ooh, we got some good questions coming in here. Some of my favorites here from Julie. Gore-Tex trail runners or hiking boots for WCT. So I was forever a traditional hiking boots and long gaiters until I went with short gaiters and short, like lower cut or mid cut runners that are non-Gore-Tex that drain and they dry really quickly. And then I now bring a waterproof sock, which is type a Gore-Tex membrane type sock. They're called the ones I'm using right now are seal skins. What I like about that is if it's wet, I can put on the Gore-Tex sock over my liner, my sock liner, and hike through puddles up to my shin where the Gore-Tex sock goes up to, and my feet are totally dry at the end of the day. It works amazing. And the nice thing at the end of the day, you can separate the Gore-Tex sock liner from the shoe and dry them out as two pieces. They dry way faster than one waterproof boot. So that was the sell for me. And once I've tried it and tested it now over several seasons, I'm now a huge fan of non Gore-Tex mid-cut shoes and a Gore-Tex sock on the inside if I need it, if it's wet. Great questions, folks. Keep them coming. And let me know, give me some thumbs up if this is helpful. I see a couple of comments that people are enjoying it. So a thumbs up are always good too. And let's see what Christine is asking here. Some of these longer questions, I'm just reading them ahead of time, so it's just a bit of a pause there. Christine's asking or saying, first of all, we hiked the WCT in 2023 and are doing the NCT this August. I've heard the NCT is much harder due to mud and big boulders on the beaches. Are there any other obstacles that we should be aware of? So my take on the two trails is they're both quite challenging and they both have different challenges. If you're doing them both as a 7-day trip, which most people do, you're going to have 7 days of challenge. If you've done the WCT and you had, challenging conditions, and you did the NCT and it was dry, you're going to have an easier time, I think. But if you've had like rain and mud, both trips, they're going to be both as challenging. They both have their ups and downs, that's for sure. And I think if you can do the WCT, and you've done the mud on the WCT and the boulders on the WCT, that you're not going to have any issues on the obstacles on the NCT. That's my take. Hey, you're welcome, Julie. Awesome. Okay, yeah, keep these coming. Let me know if you want me to switch over the screen and look at some apps. Just scrolling up here. Oh, I see a question here about apps. All right. Let's go look at some apps. So I'm going to switch to a different screen here. Okay, so we're now looking at my iPhone screen shared to you. And these are the basic apps I'm using right now. So you've probably seen the icons. You probably know what we have going on here. But number one here is Windy. This is one of my favorite. Let's just go look at the West Coast Trail first. Oh, I was showing this to an American friend earlier, so we got to switch back to Celsius now. Yeah, so Windy's amazing. It's a excellent weather app. This is a free version. You can get a paid version, which just gives you a little bit more accuracy, but it gives you tons of data points and you can geolocate those data points for anywhere on the planet. I'm using this every day, multiple times per day to plan trips. And so I'm heading on my next trip next week. So I'm looking ahead to see here what the weather is looking like next week. So right now I'm looking at the European model, and you'll see down the bottom it says ECMMWF. There's about 7 different models in Windy, so this is just my default one. I find it works the best for what I do, but I'm looking now to next week, and I'm seeing that the weather on the West Coast Trail is absolutely phenomenal. with maybe a little bit of precipitation on mid-trip, but not very much at this point. But just know that all these apps are using algorithms and they're collecting data that's changing all the time. It's all just predictions. So take it with a grain of salt. Usually 24, 48 hours is very accurate. 72 hours, it starts to lose resolution. As you get beyond that into 3 days and beyond, you're looking at fantasy land. But what I like to do is I look at the comparisons between the different models. So if you click on the comparison screen, you can look at all the different models. There's the GFS, the European Icon, Media Blue, the NAM, the high resolution models, they're all in there. And what I like to do is I look for trends. So I look at the different forecasts for the date I'm interested in, and I scroll down and I look for trends. So if they all say sunshine, in 2 days from now, I'm going to believe it. If only one or two of them say a bit of precipitation, I'm going to be prepared for precipitation. If they all say precipitation, I'm going to be really prepared for precipitation. Hey, you're welcome, Christine. Glad that it's helping. Yeah, so this is my favorite weather app. Another nice thing about it is it pulls in all the webcams automatically. So you've got tons of data points. I'm looking at Bamfield right now. This is real-time weather. This is 1 minute ago. I can scroll back and look at the weather over time. It'll go in 24-hour chunks, 30 days, 12 months, or lifetime. So a ton of info in here. And this is like, look at the sky weather. We always say the best weather forecast is LATS, look at the sky. And this is what you're doing looking at these webcams. We're seeing in Bamfield, there's a bit of cloud right now. But look at that morning. Wow, it was nice out there this early today. So anyone that's hiking the trail started off in the sun and got a little cloud to finish it off. I'm using the radar later here. So this is radar with the satellite mixed in, which is one of my favorites. So let's go to that radar plus now. This one combines them. This is combining the satellite layer with the radar layer. And this one's super handy for checking out weather systems coming in. And you can see, you can add the lines to them, the barometric pressure lines and the wind direction. There's so many things you can do with this app. And yeah, I just recommend getting out there and playing with it, checking it out. Just know that for windy, you need an internet connection. It does not work offline. The question that brought me to the apps was iTides. So yeah, Lara just mentioned to show iTides. So let's look at it. This is my tide planning app. This is a paid app. It's like $4 or $5 or $6 now, probably, if they've been adding $1 every few years. I got this years ago. It's a one-time fee, no subscription. I use this all the time. So right now I've got my Tofino tides in there. And this data that's coming in here is the same as the government tide charts. It's the same data. And if you're familiar with the West Coast Trail app, it's the same data as that as well. They're all the same data. Yeah, so this is a really great way to look at the different ups and downs of the tides, and it gives you the times for each day. You can look days in advance. So I'm going on the West Coast Trail next week. So June 2nd, there we go. I already got my tides. You can even add alarms in here to let you know when the tides are high or low. It also gives your sunrise, sunset times, which are super handy. Moonrise, moonset. And I use these tide charts a year plus in advance, and the data is very accurate. So yeah, that's iTides. That's a really good one. And then the other one here that I'll show you, and somebody was asking about the packing app. So the app that I was showing you on my desktop, this here is Lighter Pack. This is a free app, lighterpack.com. But I found another free app, which is super cool, that you add to your phone, and it's called Pack Light, and you can import your lighter pack list into there. And what I did is I imported my West Coast Trail list from Lighter Pack. So from here, I just copied the URL and stuck it into here. And then I've got my packing lists, and I can make a checklist. And this is my last trip I did in May up there. And then I made sure everything went in my bag. So using the two apps together, that's a big pro tip right there, folks. Those are my favorite 3 generalized apps for all trips that I do. And then, of course, we could spend hours on the West Coast Trail app, but this is a fantastic app specifically for the West Coast Trail. And if you haven't checked out West Coast Trail app, you definitely want to do that because it's awesome. And I just got off a meeting with Brett today. So we had a chat. He's in the UK, coming back to Canada soon. So I was just seeing if he's going to be hiking the West Coast Trail this year when he gets back. So we had a nice little chat. Okay, so let's go back into Q&A. Those are some of the apps. If you have any questions about those apps, just feel to fire them off in here. Lauren, the packing app is Lighterpack, lighterpack.com. And then the phone version is Pack Light. And if you just look for Pack Light, you'll see that. Okay, so now we're going through some of the questions in order here. Tony's asking, what is the safest approach, walking the logs or wood sections? I hear they can be treacherous. Ooh, you know, when it's dry, it's much easier. So the wood is much tackier, unless it has moss on it or slime, like algae on it. It's really hard to say. It really depends on your own experience and how you're feeling with that obstacle. You just got to go through and do it step by step, real slow, Tony. Just go step by step. If it's wet, you're going much slower steps. That's my trick right there. I slow things right down when it's wet. Great questions here, folks. Ooh, nice one, Julie. Yeah, so I just ordered. So the question is best brands of dehydrated food. My opinion, I just ordered Fuel Your Feet, my load for the next month. So I ordered 3 trips worth. I'm doing 3 trips in the next month. Oren Anderson is the proprietor, which is Michael Anderson's son, and he owns Fuel Your Feet. They're based out of Parksville. They're your local Vancouver Island food company. They're amazing. I've been using them now for a solid season. Had several big boxes that I went through, and I had just ordered my next round, and it's great because that food's going to get delivered to Victoria, so save a bit on shipping. They can also deliver it to the West Coast Trail Express because it's the same family business. So Fuel Your Feet. That's what I recommend. Local Vancouver Island company, small company, really good food. Highly recommended. Great questions. Christine's asking about parking at Port Hardy. Great round of questions here. So yeah, Cape Scott Trail. If you're parking in Port Hardy, you want to get the water taxi or the shuttle, the North Coast Trail shuttle. There's secure parking in the marina. It's not gated. There's no 24-hour security guard, but a lot of people park there. You can park your car right in front of the shuttle office. So the Cape Scott Water Taxi office, there's a fee associated with that. Go to the Cape Scott Water Taxi website. It'll give you the most current fees. And I have never had an issue parking there over years and years and years. I would still make sure I didn't leave anything out in the open and everything was locked away and alarms on, and it's in a parking lot with 100 other cars and there's a lot of traffic there. So no issues that I've heard of to date. So great question, Christine. Bryce is looking at tides, right on. Okay, which trail on Nooka? My low tide is about 2.1 most days. Yeah, you should be pretty good. There's a couple of sections, which if there's a big swell at a 2.1, it might lap up against the edge there, but that's pretty decent tides for your trip there. Check out that iTides app and make sure that you get your accurate tides for sure. So you know exactly what time you're going through those sections. And the map I have here. So great segue into this for Bryce. Hopefully Bryce can win this. This map. This used to be John Baldwin's map. He built it, and then Philip Stone, so Wild Owl Publishing, took over. But it's the same data set. And on the Nootka map, it has all the tide obstacles here, and it says not passable at high tide, Wade Creek at low tide. Use bypass trail at higher tides, Wade Creek at low tide. But you notice there's no numbers. And this is a pro tip I'm going to give everybody. The numbers don't matter a whole lot. It's you want to aim for the low tide and you want to avoid the high tide because it changes too. So the beach changes year to year, especially if it's a beach section with a cliff section next to it. The sand and rocks can get moved in and out of there. So those 0.1, 0.2, 0.5 meter differences could go back season. So our philosophy is aim for the lowest tide you can for the day and get there at the right time. Give yourself a bit of buffer and avoid the high tides. You don't want to hike the obstacles on the high tides. Great question, Bryce. Thank you. Okay, so we've got Colin. Yeah, thanks, Colin. No issues at the marina without issues. Yeah, Lauren, fuel your feet. Highly recommend it. Shout out to Oren and family at Fuel Your Feet because I am so excited to get my next shipment next week. You're welcome, Bryce. Go low. Lara's got a great point here. She avoids logs, takes the low path beside the log whenever possible. Often there's a choice. Yeah, exactly. Look for the options. Instead of just booking through at top speed, look at your lines. It's like skiing or mountain biking. You're looking for the best line on the hill so you have the most fun and don't fall or less falls. You're welcome, Bryce. Oh, great question, Krista. So my fave pocket beaches at Nootka. Let's go look over here. Let's go back to my map of Nootka. Actually, let's go to the one here on our website. So if you go to mbguiding.ca, scroll down to see Nootka Trail, click on there, go to the map. This is an older map here, but it's really cool. I wonder if I can get it big. See if I can get it big. Yeah. Okay, so the best pocket beaches on Nootka. This is an old map, but it's got the pocket beaches. Yeah, so all in between Calicum Creek here. So right here. And McQuina Point. There's a bunch of really cool sites in there that are not the main sites. They're just known as the pocket beaches. You got to poke around, but you'll find water in there. So there's a couple that even have a small little waterfall. There's some with the creek that's back from the beach. But this whole section here from Calicum Creek to McQuina Point, not too close to McQuina, just past Calicum in there. There's lots of good options in there. And that's my recommendation. I'm going to suggest to avoid this season until they get the outhouse in there, Sunrise Beach, which has always been a favorite of ours, as the finished camp, just because there's no outhouse there and it gets a lot of traffic. And I would recommend doing the tidal crossing on your last day if it's safe, and getting onto what we call Sea Stack Beach, where there's a big sea stack, because you're within 700 meters of the camp and cabin area in Uquat, and you can use the outhouses in there. It's a part of your trail fee, so you have access to the outhouses around the village, which there's a bunch of new cedar composting ones in there. And I would recommend that folks on Nootka this year don't do Sunrise Beach, skip it and go into Sea Stack. So that's a pro tip for you there. Coastal map. Carlotta bought a coastal map. Wild Coast. Yeah, I've got that map too. It's buried down in my stuff because I don't use it as often. It's got same features on there. I just like John's maps, which are now Phil's maps, just better overall. But yeah, they're both good map sets. The Wild Coast series is good too. All right, so we're about 15 minutes from our finish line, folks. So keep those questions in. And if you're just joining us now, let's see how many people we got here. Well, we've got 40 people right on. Thanks, everyone. This is Mike Blake at NB Guiding. We're doing a Coastal Backpacking 2025 planning session. So we're going through all the different options for coastal backpacking trips. So we talked about the Juan de Fuca being closed completely for the season, and then the North Coast Trail partially closed for a bit more time. And then we talking about Nootka Trail, which is getting really popular. And then we're dipped into the West Coast Trail a little bit. If you're curious about the West Coast Trail, just fire off any questions. And I see one here from Julie. Starting at Nitnat and planning to head north to the falls and then head south, hoping the water taxi would be willing to take us both ways. In your opinion, best camp spots mid to south? Yeah, so you want to organize your water taxi ahead of time, Julie, for that section. Just let them know what your plan is when you're checked in to Parks Canada so they can make sure you pay the fees, and that is on your permit. And that should not be a problem as long as you let them know what your plan is ahead of time. The best camp spots from mid to south. Oh, there's so many good ones. Cribs, Carmana, Vanilla, Walbrand. There you go. Top 4 campsites from mid to south. The other ones get pretty squishy. Coolite, really tight and hard to get in out of the season because of the washouts. Camper, really tight, and there's a ton of driftwood up on the beach this season, so it's almost like Thrasher now. And then Thrasher is known to be a ton of folks in there most of the time. You might get lucky with your itinerary. You're welcome, Krista. Yeah, Chantel, you can get a lot of info from the West Coast Trail app. So let's just pop over there. But you still want to do your own, research beyond the app. So like one instance is here looking at getting around Owen Point. This tides windows that it's giving you in the app. They don't take into consideration the sea state or wave action. So if you're squishing through there at the tightest time, and there's a big swell or big waves coming in, you could get wet. So just know that the app, just like any single resource, has limitations, and you need to put all your resources together to get a full picture. So look at the app, talk to people about trips previously, that local knowledge, highly recommend that. Go in the Facebook groups, there's lots of info in there. But yeah, do add more than just the map, or the app. Use the map, I should say. The map too. The map's got lots of good stuff in there. No, not at this point. Not that I know of. I'm not sure why the comment went flying way up there, but there it did. Yeah, so it's just the West Coast Trail app. It's the most popular trail, so it's got the app. The other trails are way less popular, and I don't know, we'd have to talk to Brett if it's worth it to do all the research and get all the data for that app for that trail. All right, let's go back over here. Yeah, nice question out of the blue here about something not coastal, but yeah, the best time for the Auger Point Traverse is after the snow melts from end to end. So, late July, August, early September. And hopefully you get a good weather window for that one. Check out our website, Lauren. There's a bunch of info on the Auger Point Traverse in there. Right on, folks. The North Coast Trail map has been sold out. Where else can I get it? Yeah, so I got lucky with the map. So Philip took over the business, and he hasn't put out the new version yet for the North Coast Trail. But I bought a bunch when I was up at the Cape Scott Water Taxi office, and so I would check with Babe Burrows at the office and see if she has any. She might have some maps for you. Just scrolling up here to see what we're missing. I think I've been doing pretty good getting to all these questions here. Oh yeah, we talked about that one. Hey, you're welcome, Norm. This is an interesting question. So Denise is asking, if you decide to hike through to Gordon River and need to take the water taxi back across Nidnat, can I just pay cash on the way back, or need to prepay with BC or PC beforehand? I would highly recommend organizing it beforehand, but if it's an emergency, you're going to do what you need to do to get through. But if you can get that on your permit, it just makes it easier for everyone. But I'm sure that they're going to accommodate you, Denise, if you need to do something that's off your itinerary. Hey, you're welcome, Christine. Yeah, right on, folks. So yeah, we're gonna wind this down soon. So if you got any more questions you want to squeeze in, if you're gonna watch the replay, feel free to add them afterwards as well. Oh yeah, so great point. It was awesome. So I've done the West Coast Trail solo recon now 3 years in a row, May 1st. The first year I did it northbound, the second year I did it southbound, and this year I did it northbound again. I'm trying to alternate my West Coast Trail trips. So my next one's southbound, the next one's northbound, the next one's southbound. Just gives me more variety. And the highlights for me were for sure the first day was dry, like midsummer conditions. I talked to Carl Edgar at the Crab Shack on day 2, and he said that it hadn't rained for 10 days out there. So I got really lucky, but it did rain on day 2, or maybe it was day 3. I talked to him actually because I didn't get quite as far as I thought I was going to. But then I had 2 really good days, so a bit of a wet day going. So I did Gordon River to Camper, and then I did Camper all the way up to Cribs, and then I did Cribs to Chickawas, and then out on the last day. So I did 4 days, and 3 of my 4 days were dry, so that was really nice. That would be a highlight for sure. There's way less people out there at that time of year. You get the keener, so the people you do meet are super enthusiastic to be out there, and it's great just to meet all the people that make the trail happen as well. So checking in at the West Coast Trail offices, meeting some of the trail guardians along the way. It's like everyone's just getting in the mode for the season, so it's a really great time to be out there. Meeting the work crews, so I met the work crews that were fixing the ladders up at Sandstone and Coolite. So yeah, it was good. Those are all highlights. Saw a lot of bear scat, but didn't see any bears. So I think I was making enough noise, but I was surprised that I didn't see any bears with the amount of scats I was seeing. But just to give you a quick update, folks, I got an email today from Parks Canada that's talking about bears from Pachina out towards Darling. So again, every year it happens. There's a lot of bear activity up there right now. So just be prepared for that. Make noise up there, let them know you're coming through, be courteous to them because it's their backyard that we're walking through. So give them a heads up, let them know you're coming through, and then we'll reduce any issues with the bears out there. So just the notification just came out today, and it's also on the West Coast Trail group. I posted it from the Pacific Rim National Park page, the Facebook page, so you'll see it there. Yeah, it was a super fun trip, Amy. It was really awesome. And ready for next year. I don't know how much my luck is going to go though. Last year was sunny, the year before was sunny, and this year was sunny. So I don't know if I could do 4 May 1st in a row with sun. All right, folks, we're just going to start winding this down here. So this has been awesome fun. Hopefully you got a little bit of tips, tricks out of it. I sure have a lot of fun doing these. Yeah, so I'm going to start wrapping up this live stream, and we want to give away these 3 awesome prize packages. So yeah, just make sure that you stay in touch here. Check out our website. Check out all the parks websites. That's where you're getting the most up-to-date information. Yeah, just sharing a ton of info all the time. I'm trying to get as much as I can. And I want you to plan safe, fun, and successful coastal backpacking trips in 2025 and beyond. So go check out our website at mbguiding.ca, help you plan trips like a pro, and follow the links to all the websites we connect to and learn more. If you're keen to join us on an adventure, check out our upcoming guided trips. We have lots going on this season and would love to see you on the trails with us. Now it's time for the giveaway. So these are the prizes. There's going to be 3 prize packages. Prize package 1, 2, and 3 are all going to have the option of the Blisters and Bliss or a brand new Nooka trail map. So I've got 3 of those. Then we also got the slug patches, and we've got the stickers, and I've got a consultation with me at MB Guiding to help you plan a trip. So we'll throw 3 of those in there too. Okay, so first you'd have to have participated in the comments. So you had to have asked a question or said hello or something so I can see your picture in the comments there. Second, you're going to go to our MB Guiding website and you're going to go to the contact page. So you can either go to the top menu here and click contact, or you can scroll all the way to the bottom to the footer menu and click contact. So it's mbguiding.ca/contact. You're going to scroll down, you're going to enter your first name, your last name, your email, and then in the subject line, put live stream giveaway. Live stream giveaway. And then say hello or ask a question, just fill in that box there. These are all, need all these forms filled for it to get sent. And then just agree to receive communications from me, knowing that you can cancel that at any time. So you will send that, it'll add you to my list, and then you can win your prize and then unsubscribe if you want. So just know that you can do that. So let's go to the contact page. I'm just going to repeat mbguiding.ca/contact. First name, last name, your email address so I can get a hold of you, and then live stream giveaway in the subject line, and then say hello or ask a question in there. And folks that have asked or asked questions the last 2 live streams, I've been away for pretty much the last 2 months, in and out of the Rockies, back on the island for short periods of time. So yeah, I'll get back to you eventually. I'm back here on the island for a while now, so I'm going to be following up on a lot of my inquiries here. So good luck, everyone. That's how you're going to win, is you're going to enter that way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a random comment picker tomorrow. So I'm going to go through the comments, make sure that it collaborates with your contact information that you email or send in the contact form. And then tomorrow at around 6 p.m. Pacific time, so that's in 24 hours, I'll draw the 3 winners, and then I'll send you instructions to claim your prizes. So good luck, everyone. And I see them coming in right now, so that's awesome. All right. So, yeah, just going to get this finished off now here, folks. We're planning out our 2025 live stream schedule and would love your feedback. What would you like us do next? More trip planning sessions, Q&A sessions, live trip reports, any other ideas, just share them in the chat or the comments. We'll post upcoming events on our social channels. Click on the events to get notifications when we get live again. So if you enjoyed this live stream, give a thumbs up, leave a comment if you're keen for more, and you can also share the replay, share our websites, and share our social channels too. So that's all for now, folks. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week and see you on the trails.